Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. It is Mindy here, and I am so excited today to talk about a fragrance that I recently bought and added to my collection. This is a vanilla fragrance, and no, it is not a woody vanilla like Jupe Labaine. It is not a boozy vanilla like Spiritueuse Double Vanille. It is not a green vanilla like Eau de Dwell by Diptyque, and of course, it is not a cooking vanilla like this one. So today I actually wanted to talk about something I've been highly anticipating, very excited to get into my collection, and that is Vanille West Indies by Ligne St. Barth. And this is an incredibly indulgent, sweet, addictive, gourmandy, cozy, delicious caramelic vanilla. This fragrance is produced in St. Bart's, from what I understand, which is an island in the West Indies in the Caribbean near Antigua. I think it's near St. Martin. I also believe it's near St. Thomas, somewhere in that vicinity. And it is just delicious. If you're looking for a beautiful vanilla that is simple, I think this is a great one to add to your collection. Now, one thing I've found over the past couple months is that this is getting more and more difficult to find. I bought it on December 23rd in overseas, and it took about 77 days to get here. So I got it yesterday, and I've been trying it out. Fully recognize that we're in the middle of a global pandemic and that it does take a while to ship product at the moment due to varying factors. So yeah, it took a while, and I'm very, very excited to now have it in my collection. And to rewind a little bit, I bought it maybe back in the September timeframe. I bought a tiny 1 milliliter splash sample, and I tried it out and found myself just so addicted to the scent. It's just a very uncomplicated, simple, sweet, delicious vanilla. And I think most people that really love gourmands, most people that love vanillas, I think they would really appreciate this fragrance. I think they would enjoy this fragrance. In exploring if this is available to buy at the moment, I did go directly to the Ligne St. Barth website, and I saw that this won't be available again on their website specifically until June of 2021. So that explains why it might be a little more difficult to access at the moment, but it sounds like it'll be back and available for sale in mid-2021. Now, a couple fragrances that this is often compared to, I believe Vaniglia Mazzolari, which I couldn't seem to locate here locally where I live, but also I've seen it compared to Indult Tihota. And since I do have a sample of Tihota by Indult, I did want to share my thoughts on how these two fragrances compare today. Now, I have my sample of Vanille West Indies, I have my sample of Tihota Indult here, and what I immediately noticed between the two is that Vanille West Indies seems to be a less complicated vanilla fragrance. When I compare it to Tihota, Tihota does have musk in the notes, and you pick up that musk a little bit. I do have a preference for Vanille West Indies, but I can absolutely see why people love Tihota so much. It is a gorgeous smell. Now, I do get a little bit of the musk from Tihota, but it also has sort of a heavier, almost burnt sugar feel to it. It's almost like if you took the base of Vanille West Indies and you laid that as a foundation for Tihota, and then added the musk on top, you added sort of that burnt sugar feel that I mentioned that I picked up, and you would have sort of more of a sticky feel to this fragrance. And it is really nice, but again, I prefer this one over Tihota. Both are stunning fragrances, and I think most people enjoy both of these. I've been wearing Vanille West Indies for the entire day. It's been about 8 hours by now, and I really do enjoy this fragrance. I think it's stunning. I think it's just a nice, simple vanilla that most people would enjoy. Just a fantastic fragrance, and when I scroll through reviews in various platforms, it seems like that's a consistent sentiment across the board. People really seem to enjoy this fragrance. But because it is a little bit inaccessible, because the price tends to be a little bit higher for a 50 ml bottle, I did want to offer up some alternatives, because I do think there are some alternatives that are great options if you can't access Vanille West Indies. Now, several months ago, I went ahead and posted on Fragrantica. I knew I loved my sample of this. I only had a milliliter of it. I was testing it on my skin, I was testing it on paper, and I recognized that I was running short, and I just wasn't ready to take the plunge to buy this fragrance for a whole variety of reasons. I just wasn't there. And so I wanted to see if there were acceptable alternatives that would sort of scratch that itch for Vanille West Indies. And I posted that and immediately came back a couple suggestions by people. The first was Solinotes Vanille, as well as Outremer Vanille. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Both of these are extremely inexpensive fragrances that are fantastic substitutes or alternatives to Vanille West Indies, and I think most people would really enjoy both of these. Now, my experience has been that longevity on both of these is a little bit lacking, but for the price, I do think it's completely worth it to try both of these out. Now, these are so similar. I have done 2 side-by-side comparisons now, and it is very difficult for me to tell them apart. In fact, I don't think I could in a blind comparison. They are that similar. If I'm reaching and trying to figure out where the differences lie, this one might be ever so slightly more sweet. This one might be ever so slightly more buttery. They are so very similar. Now, if I'm trying to pick up the difference between the 3 of these fragrances, there is something I notice upon initial spritz. Vanille West Indies tends to have just ever so slightly more of a floral accord, but it drives down again to that vanillic, warm, caramelic scent. Now these 2, they're a little less expensive, and what I pick up on them at immediate spritz is a little bit more of that alcoholic smell that you get in some fragrances. And I think that just happens to be maybe due to the ratio of oil to alcohol in the fragrance, or for whatever reason, they seem to have just ever so slightly more of that alcoholic smell at the first blast. I wouldn't get hung up on that. It goes away. They both dry down to beautiful vanillas that are very, very similar to Vanille West Indies. Now, between the 2 of these, I've done side-by-side comparisons 2 times now on my hands, and I simply cannot tell the difference. I don't think most people would be able to pick up the difference between these 2. They may be able to tell the difference between Vanille West Indies. I think there's just ever so slightly more depth to this one, maybe just a little tiny bit more of a floral accord, but I only picked that up upon the first spray. These 3 are so similar that I think you could easily buy the 2 inexpensive fragrances and see if you like them before you sample or before you take the plunge on buying the full bottle of Vanille West Indies. What I absolutely love about these fragrances is simply the price point. Both of these can be picked up for around the ballpark of $20, and it's low risk, they're inexpensive vanillas, and they do come very close to this higher priced vanilla. I think for most people, these would satisfy that craving if you just want a sweet, caramelic, lovely vanilla. Both of these would fit that bill. Now between these 2, if you're trying to figure out which one to buy, I think accessibility might come into play. This one's at Target, this one's on Amazon. Outremer Vanille is on Anthropologie's website. I believe it's on a website called Smallflower. So both of them are easily accessible online. What I tend to do sometimes is go to Fragrantica and look at the actual rating for each fragrance to determine in my mind what the likability factor is, maybe what the crowd pleasability factor is of each fragrance. And if you wanted to know an actual number, it looks like Outremer Vanille is rated around 4.28. The Solinotes Vanille is rated 4.19. Now I don't know if that matters to anyone. To me, they're so similar in nature. If I absolutely had to pick one, I think I would go with Outremer, but again, they're just too close to really call it. I think they're excellent options for somebody who wants to get this feel in an inexpensive fragrance. You have two fantastic options here, and I really don't think you can go wrong with either one of these. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed my video today on Vanille West Indies. I'm really excited to have this on my collection, but I do think there are some wonderful alternatives for those people who don't want to spend the price for this fragrance or can't access it. There are definitely alternatives out there that you can try and still get the same feeling, the same vibe from. So again, I appreciate you guys so much. I hope you have a wonderful weekend and see you soon.